left to right. Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles. Let me get a hell yeah!
What is up, everybody? It is Deibs, Mr. Crockpot on Twitter. Welcome to Party on Broad. Today, we're going to react to the Philadelphia 76ers loss to the Miami Heat, 108-104. Joining us today, we have Crow TPL on Twitter. What's up, Boston?
What's going on, Chris? How are you this evening?
I'm hurting, man. It's not like our last POB. This one, a little different.
About a week later, we are in a much different place mentally.
Can we talk about the Blue Coats? Because they were on fire last night.
Yeah, we don't even have an NBA team in the tri-state area. We just have the Blue Coats. We just own the Sixers now. Brutal game from the Philadelphia 76ers. After that first quarter, everything was looking promising. The shit hit the fan. Let's talk about it. First and foremost, let's talk about the Jimmy Butler booing. Were you on board with the booing or not? I was not. So the first game, I understood the booing. I got it. I expected it. Yada yada yada. The second time when you boo, it's like this: you won the first game by 27. You led by as many as 41, right? And so, you made it clear that you're the team, that you're the better team here. Like, he could win the next 3 games in this season series, and the Sixers are still the team to beat of these two. Because, look at the rosters on paper. Come on, we're talking about here. So the first one was like, it was like a good ass whooping. And now, like, when you boo, it's like, he knows that you're thinking about him and that you miss him because you care enough to boo. It's sort of like when you break up with your ex. You wouldn't want your ex to know that you miss her. You wouldn't want that would be embarrassing. You wouldn't want her to know that. So you would just, even if you do miss her, you just sort of like, hide it and then you move on, and then maybe a couple of years down the road something else happens. Who knows? But it's just so like come on, be smarter than that. If you boo him, makes it obvious he knows that you miss him, and you don't want to give him that satisfaction.
I fully agree, man. I was against the boos, but the boos were heavy, man. The boos pretty much happened every single time he brought the ball up, every single time he touched the ball. In the end, Jimmy Butler won, man. The boos suddenly transformed.
Well, don't get it twisted. Don't give him too much credit. And a lot of that was Rep Brown getting booed.
Yeah, we're gonna get into that. Whew.
Yikes.
Between Ben and his decision-making and Joel Embiid's turnovers and Brett Brown's decision-making and some terrible refs calling. Oh, my God.
And Brett Brown's decision-making again.
Woosah, man. That was an intense
tough
game.
one.
Kudos, first and foremost, let's get the positives out of the way. All right, as we always do, kudos to the Sixers for climbing back into this game. It was pretty doom and gloom for that, into that fourth quarter. After the first quarter, man, the Sixers were up 10 points in the first quarter. Everything was looking good. Ben Simmons had 8 points in 10 minutes. Joel Embiid had 8 boards in 8 minutes. Tobias Harris had a dunk. And at one point, Zumoff did the in-the-face comment. That was an all-time, one of the best Zumoff calls of the season. That was a really good one.
I admittedly watched the ESPN version.
Terrible. Matisse Thybulle had a really, really good first quarter. I feel like he gives us like a nugget every single game now, Matisse Thybulle, where he gets the steal and then produces a bucket in transition, or he hits a 3 and on the other end creates a steal. Like, there's always like a sequence that he just looks better and better every single game he plays. The Sixers were up 10, and then
they weren't up 10. Well, the Heat. And credit to Eric Spoelstra. He's a phenomenal coach. Great story. I'm not going to ramble too much about that because I know it's like after a while it gets funny because it's like this idiot's rambling on and on. But Spoelstra, to his credit, he saw what the Sixers were doing, and he knew that, hey, if we go into a zone defense here, a 2-3, we make it impossible for Embiid to get the ball down low, because if we do, we're just going to avalanche onto him and make him turn it over. And so they went to a zone, and the Sixers were having a very tough time shooting from the field. And as a result of that zone, they couldn't really get shots off. They completely lost the rhythm. And then the Heat went on a run, and that's what happened.
I saw the Sixers being the most effective when Tobias Harris, Ben Simmons, Josh Richardson, all those guys were getting the ball fed to them down low. And they were getting to the free throw line. They had nearly 10 free throw attempts at the line in that first quarter. They had like nothing until like the fourth quarter. There was a major gap, and all of a sudden they fell in love with the three-point ball, and they just couldn't hit a thing, man. They were 5 of 22 from 3 at one point. And after being so successful, and this is all Brett Brown, right? He's making these judgments. Why didn't he adjust in that second quarter? And where does that decision come from? When something is working, you're out rebounding the Heat, you're getting to the free throw line, and all of a sudden, I get it. Sometimes the shots don't fall. I get it. The Heat were making these bank shots, and sometimes it's not your game. But man, like that was just a really frustrating game to watch as a Sixers fan, because you saw so many problems during this game, and Brett Brown never adjusted.
Well, I think that this game really put the team's weaknesses that we all feared on display, and that if you had a guy who was like I don't know how to pronounce this right, so forgive me if I'm wrong, but a turret, like one of those, machines that just is like a robot, I guess. I forget what it's called. I know Tourette's syndrome is a disease. I'm not trying to say that at all. But it was JJ was that guy. It was just an automatic bucket from deep, and then that was your zone buster. Korkmaz you can't trust yet, because you just can't trust him to be that, like, to be the guy like, hey, you're gonna go bust a zone, and then you just buy into the idea that he's gonna do it. Tobias has been very fickle all year at the three-point shooting. Mike Scott has been very, very hit or miss. I thought not Tobias Harris. I thought that Matisse Thybulle actually did a little bit, did some zone busting in that first half, and that's a point that I'm going to bring up later when we go on about Brett Brown in this game. But the Heat exposed a blatant weakness of the Sixers tonight, and for the first time, I'm not quite sure that it's a weakness that you can just fix with some practice. This is the kind of thing that you're going to have to get from an external source, whether that be, admitting that the Zaire Smith experiment is a failure and moving on from him, and maybe trying to sell him to a team that takes a chance on potential in a project. Yep. Or you cut ties with the Hive and get rid of that fiasco already. Mike Scott's a good guy. It's a good love story, but we're in the business of winning basketball games, not making love stories here. Or Kyle O'Quinn, one way or another, it's going to have to come from something external, whether that be a Wayne Ellington or finding a way to get JJ Redick back here, even though I don't think it's going to happen, because yesterday Mark Stein said that the Pelicans wanted to keep him. Davis Bertans, Bogdanovich, or the other guy in the Kings that they have, Bielitsa. It's going to have to come from another player who can hit 40% from deep, because this team doesn't have that, and we've known they haven't had that. We've been riding on some, somewhat animalistic games this season. That's anomalistic, like an anomaly. I didn't, not animal, but. We've been riding that all year long, and tonight they got exposed. They can't handle the zone defense, and it killed them tonight.
Is the 2-3 zone here to stay, man? Did the Heat just expose the Sixers for something that we should be concerned about moving forward?
Yes. I don't even think I'm being reactionary. I think we've seen the Boston Celtics, a very well-coached team, expose Ben Simmons, and then that was a blueprint for teams to do later. The Heat went zone against the Sixers tonight. They were the Sixers, even in the closing seconds of the game, still weren't finding a shot. They kept passing the ball back and forth like a hot potato. This is a very real issue, I think, and it won't be solved until they look externally to bring a piece in. And this might be the time where you start thinking about, like, hey, maybe J.R. Smith is a viable solution. Just something a reputed shooter is what you need on this team.
I fully agree. That second and third quarters of this game was just simply brutal to watch. The Sixers were just simply disinterested on defense. At one point, they were outscored 67-39 after that first quarter, man. It was pretty much doom and gloom. It was just a boring basketball game to watch. They were just completely out of sync on offense and on defense. Then we saw that miraculous three by Kendrick Nunn, man. And I was like nearly ready. I don't know about you, man. When he banked that three-pointer in, I nearly turned this game off, man. I was like,
I'll never turn the game off. But Kendrick Nunn, credit to the Heat and their scouting department. They've found a really good diamond in the rough. He's a hell of a player. He's been good for them really all year long, and it's a mirror. It's an indictment on the scouting teams around the league. I mean, I know that he dealt with some legal issues off the court, and that's sort of that killed his draft stock. But I mean, he is one of the most talented rookies in this class right now, and he's been a tremendous find for them. But it's worrisome to say the least. I mean, the Heat have some really good young pieces on that team, and they play very, very, very well together. They pass the ball very well. They have a very good high-low game, and tonight they ran like a well-oiled machine.
Going back to Kendrick Nunn, I run these top NBA rookie highlight reels on our TPL YouTube channel, and what I do is I watch pretty much every single highlight reel of every single top NBA rookie in this draft class. And by far, Kendrick Nunn is one of the best rookies in the NBA, man. He is a blast to watch.
Kendrick Nunn is now banned from the podcast and from the videos.
Man, he is just dynamite to watch. Then we had the J-Rich 3. We had the 5-second violation on the Heat. Then we had the Tobias 3. Then another J-Rich 3 that cut the lead to 4. Everything was looking positive. And then it's death, taxes, and Joel Embiid turnover with under 2 minutes left. What was your reaction to Embiid?
So that was Embiid's only turnover of the game.
Okay.
So it was incredibly untimely, but I mean, like, you could not have asked for a worse time for turnover.
Oh man,
you mean that was the worst time. I mean, my God, I would have taken 6 turnovers at the course of the game, and for that one back. I mean, that was a horrible turnover. But he made a mistake. He got caught pivoting, couldn't really get good footing, and he had to get rid of the ball, so it was going to be a travel likely. But his teammates, when you see your big man in that kind of trouble and that kind of duress, it's imperative that you bail him out by moving around off ball. When they're doubling, that means somebody else is open. So cut.
Right on. And then we had the 2 missed free throws, and then Ben Simmons has the ball with they're down 2. He got 12 seconds left, and he dribbles the ball into the lane, picks up his dribble, finds Al Horford, and Al Horford misses the 3. Was that the right play? And what was your take on that?
So I the minute I saw that play unfolding, it kind of felt like the Iguodala game where Omri Caspi missed the free throw. Or not Omri Caspi. What was his name? That big guy, that 7-footer who was just god awful. I forget his name, and he hasn't been in the league for quite some time.
Which team?
The Bulls.
The Bulls. Omer
Asik.
Yes, 100%. Yes.
Yeah, he missed both free throws. Embiid, not Embiid. Iguodala goes right to the basket, gets fouled, and makes both 6 from the series. I kind of stood up out of my chair, and I was like, "My goodness, Ben's gonna go and he's gonna stuff." Little did I think, I shouldn't have thought that much of Ben Simmons. But I mean, he had a complete size mismatch. He had an angle to attack the basket, and he kicked it out to Al Horford, who I might add was in this game 2 of 5 from 3 at that point, and 7 or not 2 of 5. He was 4 of 9 from the field at that point, and 1 of 3 from distance. You had the play and the angle to go and jam that ball through the basket, and maybe even get fouled to take the lead.
Caught a little hate on that. I fully agree with you, man. Like, I saw a photo after the game where there's literally 3 Heat defenders on the perimeter on that side of the court, and you had a 1-on-1 for Ben Simmons. Sorry, dude, you're making franchise player level contract money here. You got to be able to take that guy off the dribble and get
absolutely correct. And I got news for you. I got news for you. If no matter how that game turns out, and let's say that you do that, Eric Spoelstra in film room the next day is going to commend his players for defending the. He's going to chastise his players for not collapsing on the attacker, because you'll always give up an open three over an open dunk or a layup. So you literally, the Heat were dead to their rights, and you just threw it to an open shooter when you could have just dunked it home. You have to get that mentality, that DNA mentality of, I am a franchise player. I have to attack the basket. If you're not going to shoot the ball, be aggressive when the team needs you the most. And this is a guy who is around LeBron James all the time. He's surrounded by world-class athletes, guys who know how to do it. You have to take that turn on that corner and step up and stuff it. It's the only answer. Nothing else suffices.
And this is like one of those moments where, like, I hate reading the tea leaves. I hate doing this so much. But does Ben Simmons have it in him to be that guy, to be the alpha, we talked about this again and again and again. Does Ben Simmons want the ball in his hands with 12 seconds remaining? And we saw it tonight. And it's so debilitating to me, man. I'm obviously, my energy is down tonight because of Ben Simmons. Like, that was a great opportunity for Ben Simmons to shut the haters up and, have a statement game-winning shot. The opportunity was there. Just another example where he picks up the dribble in the air and tosses out in the perimeter for a worse
right.
shot.
So I think it's a fair point, and I will say this. There's no evidence to suggest that what you're saying is in any shape or form an overreaction. I mean, what has he showed us in his career? He had at one point in the Boston series, his rookie year, he's repeatedly come up short time and time again when the team needed him the most. There's nothing to support, the argument that he does have it in him. That being said, LeBron James had to leave Cleveland to figure out how to win. Yeah. It takes time to figure that out sometimes.
I fully agree.
Ben's still a young guy. He still has a long way to go. But you just have to, as much as we praise Ben Simmons' basketball IQ, you have to have a tunnel vision sometimes to say, the man in front of me is 6'6". He might be as fast as me. He might be, it might be this, might be that. I'm 6'10". I have plate handles. I can get to the basket whenever I want. I'm stronger than him. Go jam it down his throat and go get on Deibs' highlight reel.
I fully agree, man. Like, if there was another play beyond that Kendrick Nunn bank three that kind of defined the game tonight, it was Ben Simmons not recognizing the mismatch. Because after that first quarter, that's how I saw this Sixers game. They started looking away from the mismatches and just got, they just fell in love with the 3-point shot, and they didn't hit the shots, and the game just completely got away from them. You want to run through some quick player grades before we wrap it up?
Sure.
All right, let's do Tobias Harris. He had 20 points tonight, 4 boards. He was 2 for 6 from 3. What would you grade Tobias Harris?
B+, A-. I mean, he's exactly what he's been on all year long, pretty much. I mean, he's averaging close to 20 points a game. That's what he gave you tonight. He's just always the scapegoat for this team whenever they're missing things, and I think it's because no one wants to blame the franchise center or the franchise point forward, because it just sort of like, well, maybe they're not all that we thought they were. And everyone's so eager to defend Al Horford because they want to battle the perception that Boston fans have as not appreciating him. So Tobias Harris just inherently becomes the scapegoat for this team. He's been one of your most consistent pieces for the last month and a half of the season. He's been one of your best. He's been one of your 2 best players throughout this season. So he was steady tonight as usual. B+, A-.
I fully agree. I'm right in that like B to B+ range. He was a positive 16. He had 16 field goal attempts tonight. I only wish that was like 30 attempts, because he was really the only player on the Sixers tonight that was really working the mismatches in that post and getting whatever he wanted to at the rim. Let's move on to Al Horford, who had 9 points, He was a plus 21. He shot 4 from 9 from the field. He did miss the game-winning 3. What grade would you give Al Horford, man?
I don't think that's Al Horford's fault that he missed the 3. I think it's him being put in an incredibly difficult spot, ice cold. The 2 hands coming at him, the clock winding down, him probably not even expecting to get the ball. So that I don't blame that on him. But still, $109 million, 32 minutes played. I need more than 9, 4, and 3. I can get that out of my. I can get that out of the Derek Jones Jr. on the Heat. I need that. I need more than that. I need 15 and 6 out of you on a nightly basis.
I'm like at a C. I'm at I guess a C plus for Al Horford.
C, yeah.
I think that was what the zone did with the Sixers. Is the Sixers stopped moving without the ball. When I think of the zone, and when I think about Horford, I think about Horford as one of the best in the NBA in terms of getting the ball moving around the perimeter, getting the ball, finding backdoor cutters. I didn't really see it that much tonight, man. Actually, he only had 3 assists, so there it is. Let's move on to Joel Embiid, 22 points, 19 boards. He was a minus 11.
Imagine. See, that's why plus minus is so misleading, because
it is
22 points and 19 boards, and we're 1 turnover, and we're still gonna complain about Embiid's plus minus.
I know.
Like, even when he looks disinterested, he's still getting 22 and 20 almost. His shot selection is spotty almost all the time. I will take spotty shot selection for a guy who gets 22 and 19. He's the only one on a game-to-game basis who you can almost guarantee is going to step up.
Right on. I'm like in that C plus range for Joel Embiid. What about you?
I keep forgetting to give a grade. I'm gonna say a B minus.
Okay. Ben Simmons, 17 points. He had 6 assists, 6 boards. He played 42 minutes tonight. Wow. Plus 4 on the court. I'm right in that C range for Ben Simmons. He was pretty active on defense, I thought, in that first half. I need to think back about the second half, but overall, just a mediocre game. That last shot, that 12 seconds remaining, man, just really killed his grade for me, honestly. So you said a C?
F. No, I'm saying for you. You were right up F right there. Now, Ben Simmons gets a C. And although that's not a horrible grade, I need him to be to fighting for an A minus every single night. That's what you're there to do. If you aren't an A minus every night, I got news for you, Ben Simmons. You're not going to win a championship as a number 1 player in this NBA. You won't win as a number 2 or a 3. You might win as a 4. So congratulations, all that hype and all your flash and dating Kendall Jenner and all this different stuff. And you're going to be the 4th best player on a team if you win a championship, if this version of you continues.
Let's move on to Josh Richardson, 17 points, 6 assists. He shot 3 of 10 from 3. I think of Josh, he had just had a brutal first 3 quarters in this game. He really rallied the Sixers in that 4th quarter. Give him a C+. What about you?
B minus, C+. I think he's still laboring a little bit with that wrist, and people are saying, well, then he shouldn't play. No, he's fighting through it. We're all boomers about how Joel Embiid should be playing. He's sick, yada yada yada. It goes both ways. Commend him that he's trying to play through whatever is inhibiting him. It may have just been a mediocre game for him. It was still a pretty good game by most accounts, 17, 5, and 6. B plus for him. But is that the last one you had, or do you have one more?
Let's do a little Matisse Thybulle, and then we'll wrap it up. I thought Matisse had just a tale of 2 halves. Just phenomenal first half. Yeah, phenomenal first half. He was all over the court. He was hitting threes, generating steals, getting deflections, and then he just kind of hit that rookie wall almost. It was just a turnover machine in that second half. Matisse, I'll give him a C. What about you?
Okay, so this is where my rant begins. So buckle in. So Matisse gets an A in my book.
All right.
And here's and I'm going to explain why. We've spent so much time defending Brett Brown. We have sung his praise since the beginning of this website.
Fully admit, Brett Brown homer right here. Yep.
Stuck by him through thick and thin. Never got too high on the wins, and always came to his back on the losses. Tonight, Brett Brown. Matisse Thybulle plays 14 total minutes in this game. Keep in mind, he ignited them in that first and second quarter to get out to the 12-point lead. He got hands into the passing lanes, deflections, making threes, did everything he usually does. He had 2 turnovers for the entire game. So turnovers weren't the reason that he got benched. For whatever reason, something wasn't right for him. And I'm sure after the game, Brett Brown's going to buy himself some insurance and say he had a tummy ache or whatever the hell he's going to say.
Don't say gastroenteritis, man. I can't.
Gastroenteritis, whatever
that word has been thrown out of the Sixers dictionary for a long time.
Ear infection, pink eye, whatever you got, Matisse is gonna probably have after this game. Mike Scott, on the other hand, played significant second half minutes. 1 of 6 from the field.
Terrible.
1 of 6 from the field. Matisse Thybulle's a better defender than him. He's definitely a better shooter than him right now. What's that about? 1 of 6 from the field. He plays more. He plays the significant crunch time minutes. Then let's go to a different area of this game. You let Eric Spoelstra just douse your team in a zone, and you didn't even try to help or to figure things out. You just let your team drown in it. You did nothing to adjust for that zone. The only thing that you had working was Tobias Harris and Ben Simmons in the mid to the high post in the middle. And that was when the team went on a 14-2 run to close the gap. And you got away from it. What where are you going to go? Joel Embiid was completely neutralized in that zone. And that was the whole point of the zone. That's why they ran the zone defense, was to neutralize Joel Embiid, and it worked. And you just sat there and let them do it. Then there was no adjustment at halftime. They were down by 12. They went into half up by 8, 20-point swing in 1 quarter, and you did nothing to adjust for it. Then you could have easily taken it. You said, okay, you know what? We're taking Embiid out of the game. We're gonna utilize him when they go to a different type of defense. Horford outside, better Tobias in the middle, orchestrating the offense. None of that. Same thing as the first half, and they went down by 16 points in the second half. Then, for the first time in my life, I actually think you should have used more Korkmaz. He had 2 threes in that first quarter, sat the rest of the game.
He had 2 corner threes. It was looking good.
Threes. No one else could hit a 3. You tried to go Obama, and you took the Obama out. What's the point of that? You completely failed, as per usual, to adapt to the drop coverage of the big and let Nunn and Butler hit floater after floater all night long. The Heat also didn't have Dragic or Winslow, a starter and a 6th man. 2 of their most important players were out tonight on the road, and you still lost the game and trailed by as many as 16 points. And honestly, as I said previously, this isn't a hiccup for me. This is a glaring concern because you don't have the pieces on this team to accommodate and break the zone. You're going to have to get external help, a mercenary, whatever that might be, to come and fix this, because that zone defense is not going to go away. Teams are going to use it more now when Embiid gets going, because it worked, and it worked really well tonight for the Heat. So now Elton Brand has work to do as well. And by the way, look at the body language and the facial expressions of Joel Embiid and Ben Simmons. They don't look like they're loving Brett Brown anymore. They look like they're tired of it too.
Tea leaves.
And once you lose the 2 biggest pieces on your team and they stop believing in you, you might as well just walk out the building and just resign. Get Hinkie's letter, resign, write a 25-page letter about all kinds of metaphors. Just resign, because once you lose their support, it's over. You're cooked.
I fully agree with you on the lack of adjustments, man. Like you said, I am a full self-proclaimed Brett Brown lover. I have been in this quarter for years and years. That was a bad look, and I actually tweeted about that from the Blue Route. And the first thing I got was, "How dare you criticize Brett Brown for his first home loss of the season?" And I just had my eyes couldn't roll back into the back of my head any further.
It's not about first home loss. It's about a track record and a trend of things in the past that continue to haunt you in the games that you lose. It shows an inability to learn from your mistakes and adapt and adjust. And at that point, that's the definition of insanity. That's what insanity is. Doing the same things over and over again and expecting a different result.
So what you're saying is Brett Brown is the new Andy Reid.
Well, no, he doesn't have cankles, but that's a different story. Brett Brown, for the first time, I am beginning to have very serious doubts about Brett Brown.
Yeah, no, his job is on the line. There is no doubt about that, man.
When your job is on the line and your meal ticket is on the line, and you still have a kid to put through school, all this different stuff, you gotta break your philosophies a little bit to do what every other coach does, which is to adapt in the moment and adjust. Greg Popovich has done it for 3 different eras of basketball: pick and roll, big man dominant, 3-point era. He's adapted 3 different times, and he's been around the league for how many years? 20 years. He's won 5 championships. Good coaches adapt, and here you are, hoping that guys will miss a floater once in a while. Still.
Yeah. That is Austin. Follow him on Twitter at CarlTPL. Make sure you check out his podcast, The Feed to Embiid. That is also on Twitter at The Feed to Embiid. Dude, anything you want to talk about the podcast?
It's been it's been a we're not gonna have a happy podcast. This is not gonna be a happy podcast.
Nah, man. All right, so the Sixers next play the Dallas Mavericks. I think it's without Luka, right? Like, I think Luka's
no Luka, so they'll probably lose by 6, of course, because that's what we do. We play to the level of the competition, which, by the way, is a coaching it's a coaching concept, and it's also what teams that don't win championships do.
All right. Well, for Debbie Downer, make sure you follow him on Twitter at CrellTPL. For myself, I'm Deibs. Check me out, Mr. Crockpot. Follow all of our Sixers content at 76erstpl, our Blue Root content at Blue Root TPL. Follow everything else at thepaintedlines.com. For Austin, for myself, take it easy, guys. Stay awesome.
Sixers win it! Wow! Oh, man, Embiid just posterized Russell Westbrook.
You love the Philadelphia Eagles? Let me get a hell yeah!